Imagine you are walking down the cobblestone streets of Tribeca, Manhattan. This is a place where a single penthouse loft can cost more than most people dream of making in a lifetime. Right here, you will find two neighbors who couldn't be more different. One guy pulls his shiny Range Rover out of the garage every morning. He steps out in a perfectly tailored suit and polished Oxford shoes, looking every bit like a successful Wall Street boss. Everyone walking by thinks to themselves, this is the peak of success. But in the very next apartment, another man starts his day in an old Subaru, wearing a plain Costco t-shirt and simple jeans. He does not look like a millionaire at all. In fact, he kind of fades into the background in this fancy neighborhood. The truth only comes out when the doors close. That guy in the luxury car is actually living in a debt prison. He stays awake at night, worrying about his massive mortgage and credit card interest. If his company is even 1 month late on his paycheck, his beautiful sandcastle will come crashing down. Meanwhile, his quiet neighbor has been secretly building a massive portfolio of index funds. He does not need to work to survive. He works because he loves it, knowing he could retire tomorrow and travel the world with cash without ever looking at a price tag. The most toxic lie society tells us is that you just need more money to solve your financial problems. No, the truth is that the gap between struggling and freedom isn't about the number on your paycheck. It is about your financial education and the money rules you set for yourself. Today, I am going to reveal 10 rules you must follow to stay financially stable, no matter your age, where you come from, what you do for a living, or where you are on the income ladder. We will start with the core rules of mindset to change how you look at money. In reality, the biggest problem I see with super smart people is that they believe complex financial knowledge or high-tech algorithms are the keys to wealth. But the cold, hard truth is that personal finance is only 20% head knowledge. The other 80% is all about your behavior and discipline. If you have ever heard of the 80-20 rule, this is the Pareto principle for your wallet. A few small habits done over and over will decide 80% of your bank balance later in life. To prove it, look at Ronald Read. He was an ordinary guy who spent 25 years as a mechanic at Haviland's gas station, then worked as a janitor at the retail chain J.C. Penney for another 17 years. His life was all about gas pumps and floor brooms, but when he passed away at age 92, he shocked the world by leaving behind a fortune of over $8 million. You can easily find his story on Wikipedia and in major news outlets. At the same time, consider Richard Fosconi. He was a high-level executive at Merrill Lynch with a degree from Harvard. Yet, he had to declare bankruptcy and watch his luxury home get foreclosed on after making bad leveraged investments and living a flashy lifestyle he couldn't afford. How can a janitor be many times richer than a top financial genius? The answer isn't about a high or low IQ. It is about incredible patience and a consistent minimalist lifestyle. While Wall Street bosses were chasing complex derivative strategies and flashy status symbols, Ronald Read just spent less than he made at the gas station and J.C. Penney. He quietly let compound interest do its thing for decades. He understood that time in the market is much more important than trying to time the market. Ronald Read didn't let lifestyle inflation pull him under. No matter how many zeros were added to his account, he stayed humble and disciplined, like the skilled mechanic he was. Choosing to own less stuff and live simply doesn't mean you are settling for a low-quality life. It actually means you are building a massive margin of safety against any economic storm. Richard Fosconi failed because as his income grew, his ego grew even faster, making him fragile when things changed. On the other hand, Ronald Read saw every dollar he earned not as a way to have fun for a moment, but as soldiers sent out to build lasting freedom. The lesson here is clear. You don't need to be a math genius to be rich. You just need to learn how to stop acting like a fool with your own money. Real financial stability only starts when you realize that controlling your behavior and ignoring silly desires is what keeps you on your feet forever. However, once you understand the importance of behavior, we have to face another common mistake. It is the belief that once we make more money, our money problems will vanish. Well, that might be true at first. A raise can help solve your current bills. But then, as you get used to that new income, you unconsciously raise your standard of living and new problems pop up. It becomes an endless loop with no answer. In fact, if you don't have a stopping point in your mindset, any extra money will just be fuel for a more expensive lifestyle. Imagine you just got a promotion with a $1,000 monthly raise. What is the first thing you think of? Moving to a bigger place? Buying a fancier car? Eating at high-end restaurants? This is the trap called hedonic adaptation. When you upgrade your life immediately, that happy feeling only lasts a few weeks. Then that new level becomes your new normal. You feel like you don't have enough again and want to make even more money to upgrade further. The key is that you must write down your definition of enough before you are wealthy. Be as specific as you can. For example, how many square feet do you really need to be comfortable? What features does your car actually need to get you around? If you don't set your own finish line, society will set it for you, and that finish line will always keep moving further away. True happiness isn't about owning the most stuff. It is about the positive gap between your expectations and your reality. When you keep your expectations low and your reality high, you will always feel rich. Finding your enough point also helps you see a truth that society tries to hide: the deadly difference between being rich and being wealthy. We live in an era where being rich is often confused with showing off. But there is a huge difference between looking like you have money and actually having wealth. Let's look at two opposite types of people. One is a guy named Mike, or Flashy Mike. He always shows up in a roaring sports car and designer clothes. Everyone thinks Mike is rich, but they don't see the mountain of credit card bills and the massive car loan. If Mike lost his job tomorrow, his richness would evaporate in 2 weeks because he is just spending money to buy the admiration of others. On the flip side, look at Quiet Dave. He drives a normal car and wears t-shirts with no logos. Dave doesn't look like a millionaire, but he has $2 million in investment funds making money for him every single day. Dave is actually wealthy. Wealth is what you don't see. It is the designer clothes you didn't buy and the fancy cars you didn't get in exchange for independence, peace, and the power to choose how you live. Rich is spending money, but wealthy is owning assets. Even the people at the very top of the world's wealth ladder prove this. You might see Bill Gates, one of the richest people in history, wearing a $10 Casio watch and waiting in line for a burger at a local joint like everyone else. Or look at Elon Musk, who once said he was selling his multi-million-dollar mansions to live in a tiny prefab house in Texas that is less than 500 square feet, just so he could focus all his energy on his mission. For them, self-worth isn't about proving how much money they have through stuff. It is about the impact they make and the freedom they create. They understand that showing off is just a heavy weight that slows them down from bigger goals. Don't confuse spending like a rich person with owning wealth. If you want long-term stability, learn how to keep money before you learn how to spend it. Now that we have reset your mindset, it is time to get practical with your spending defense system. Have you ever wondered why you make decent money but your pockets are empty by the end of the month? It is because you only see the price on the tag and forget the real cost of owning things. Take buying a cheap used boat for weekend fun as an example. You think it only costs $5,000? Think again. That $5,000 is just the entry fee. The second price is what actually drains your wallet. Monthly docking fees, engine maintenance, insurance, fuel, and the time you have to spend taking care of it instead of doing something else. Then there is the Diderot effect. This is a famous psychological concept that says owning one new thing makes you dissatisfied with your old things, pushing you to buy more to make everything match. Once you buy that boat, you will feel like you need a new truck to tow it, better fishing gear, and maybe even a house closer to the water. On top of that, think about the opportunity cost. If you invested that $5,000 at an 8% return, it would become over $23,000 in 20 years. So that boat doesn't cost $5,000, it costs you $23,000 of your future self's money. The rule is simple. Every dollar you lock into something you don't need is a dollar of freedom you lose. Next time you buy something, ask, what is its second price? Besides calculating costs, we have to be honest and do an identity audit. Are we spending money just to fix a fake image of ourselves in other people's heads? We often shop not for the item itself, but for what we think that item says about our status. Think about the last time you bought the latest iPhone or expensive designer shoes. Ask yourself, would I still buy this if I lived alone on a deserted island and nobody knew I owned it? If the answer is no, you are buying it to impress others. You are basically performing for an imaginary audience. Worrying about what others think is actually a mental illusion proven by science. A famous study from Cornell University in 2000 called this the spotlight effect. Researchers had students wear a shirt with Barry Manilow on it, which was considered very uncool at the time. The students were sure at least 50% of people in the room would notice and judge them. But the actual result? Less than 23% of people even noticed the shirt. The lesson is huge. We think we are the center of the universe and everyone is judging every detail. But the truth is, nobody cares about you as much as you think. While you are worried about what they think of you, they are freaking out about whether you are judging them. When you blow money to impress strangers, you are making the worst trade ever. You are trading real hard-earned money for fake approval from people you don't even like. Only buy what serves your actual purpose and your real values. Stop spending money to pay the salary of the audience in your head. If not caring about strangers' opinions isn't enough to stop you, try turning every purchase into life energy. We usually think of prices in terms of cash, but money is really just a placeholder for your time and effort. When you spend money, you are spending your life. Let's say you make $25 an hour after taxes. You're looking at $500 designer shoes. Don't see them as $500. See them as 20 hours of work. That is almost 3 full days of your life, sitting in an office, taking heat from your boss or customers, just to get something to cover your feet. Are you willing to trade 20 precious hours of your youth away from family and hobbies just for those shoes? When you start converting everything into life energy, your brain flips a switch. A new phone isn't just a cool gadget anymore. It is 40 hours of exhausting labor. A fancy dinner isn't just a meal. It is half a day of your life gone. This forces you to face the fact that time is limited. It makes you ask, is this item worth the hours of my short life that I traded for it? If the answer is no, put it down and take back your freedom. To stop those quick bursts of excitement caused by dopamine, build a 72-hour firewall. Our brains are wired to love new things. When you see something cool, your brain releases dopamine, the happy hormone that makes you feel excited and want to own it right now. But here's the bad news. That dopamine level crashes the moment you swipe your card. The problem is we often shop based on that temporary rush. For example, you see a smart kitchen gadget on TikTok and suddenly feel like you will become a master chef if you have it. You buy it. A week later, it is sitting in the back of a cabinet. It is just sitting there uselessly instead of bringing you the amazing value you imagined. To block this, use a 72-hour firewall. Before buying anything that isn't a basic need, make yourself wait exactly 3 days. You will be surprised to see that after 72 hours, 80% of those initial cravings just disappear. Also use the one in, one out rule. To bring something new into your house, you must get rid of something old. Want a new shirt? Pick an old one to donate. This rule creates a big mental barrier. It forces you to think if the new item is actually better than what you already have. It keeps your house minimalist and stops you from accidentally collecting junk that drains your wallet. Personal discipline is great, but for long-term stability, we shouldn't just rely on willpower. We need an automated system. Willpower is a limited resource that runs out after a long day. After a tiring day making decisions at work, your ability to make smart money choices is at zero. That is when it is easiest to give in and buy something random on TikTok Shop just to de-stress. Look at how the greatest financial minds work. Thousands of years ago, the classic book The Richest Man in Babylon gave a golden rule. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. Later, Robert Kiyosaki turned this into a mindset revolution in Rich Dad, Poor Dad with the famous phrase, pay yourself first. Most people make the mistake of paying everyone else first. The landlord, the electric company, the grocery store. They hope there is something left for them at the end of the month. The result? There is never anything left. Kiyosaki argues that if you don't treat saving as a mandatory bill that must be paid first, you will always be a servant to someone else's wallet. In the digital age, we have an advantage the ancient Babylonians didn't. Automation. Don't fight yourself every month. The simplest and most effective way is to set up an automatic transfer from your paycheck to an investment fund the second you get paid. When that money leaves your account before you even see it, your brain automatically adjusts your lifestyle to what is left. You don't need to have nerves of steel. You just need a system with no holes. Let the machines handle the financial stability so you can use your willpower for bigger goals. At the same time, you need to learn to stop upgrading your boredom. In the modern world, tech and fashion companies are experts at turning boredom into a reason to shop. They don't wait for your stuff to break. They are like magicians using marketing to make you feel like your things are out of style and it is time for an upgrade. Look at the phone in your hand. It still makes calls, apps run smooth, and the photos are great. But when the new version comes out with a different color or chip that is 10% faster that you won't even notice, you start to feel like your current phone is boring. You want to upgrade. But remember, boredom is a feeling, not a technical glitch. Upgrading your stuff never cures long-term boredom. It just gives you a tiny spark of excitement before you get bored of the new thing in a few months. Constantly upgrading things that still work perfectly is one of the fastest ways to kill your potential wealth. On average, if you keep a car for 10 years instead of trading it in every 3 years, you could save hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Don't let marketing trick you into thinking newer is always better. An item is only broken when it can't do its job anymore. Any other reason to buy a new one is just wasting your assets under the disguise of progress. Choose long-term stability over short-term novelty. Finally, why are we doing all of this? Is it just to have a giant number in a bank app? Not really. The ultimate goal of minimalist money is to buy back the ownership of your own life. In the classic book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki shared a deep definition of wealth from Buckminster Fuller. Wealth is a person's ability to survive so many number of days forward if they stopped working today. In other words, wealth isn't measured in dollars, it is measured in time. Let me introduce a concept that is much more real than an account balance. The freedom horizon. Do the math. If you got fired today or decided to quit right now, how long could you live your current life with your savings and assets without working another second? 1 month, 1 year, or 10 years? Look at the irony here. A professional in the US making $200,000 a year sounds like a dream, but they can easily fall into the group called Henrys. High earners, not rich yet. According to a 2026 report from Lending Club, over 1/3 of people making more than $250,000 a year in the US are still living paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because after taxes in expensive states like New York, nearly 40% of that money is gone. When they fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation, fancy downtown apartments, luxury car payments, and expensive dinners to keep up appearances, their spending can easily hit $195,000 a year. That person has a freedom horizon of less than 1 month. They are basically a high-income slave, forever racing on a hamster wheel to pay for their flashy exterior. Meanwhile, look at someone making $50,000 who chooses a minimalist life with $25,000 in expenses and $100,000 saved. This person doesn't own a supercar, but they own 4 full years of total freedom. One person is shaking before every payday, and the other can relax for the next 1,400 days without needing a job. So who is actually richer here? When you own less physical stuff but collect more financial assets, you are buying 100% control over your time. That is the final destination of financial stability. You don't need millions of dollars to start feeling free. You just need to build a big enough margin so you don't feel suffocated when the next paycheck hasn't arrived yet. Remember this, the more stuff you have, the shorter your freedom horizon becomes. Focus on collecting time, not collecting things. As you can see, lasting financial stability doesn't come from a lottery win or a random huge salary. It comes from having the courage to follow these minimalist rules with discipline every day. Being wealthy isn't about having more money to buy more stuff. It is about having more choices to live a meaningful life. True financial peace comes from mastering your own greed and turning money into a tool for freedom, instead of letting it turn you into a slave. Don't let the things you own end up owning you. Of the 10 points I just shared, which one woke you up the most? Which rule are you stuck on? Pick just one rule that really hit home and apply it to your life in the next 24 hours. Maybe it is setting up an automatic transfer or just cleaning out your closet and using the 1 in 1 out rule. Start with the smallest thing, because these tiny changes are what create a massive shift in your financial future. I am Max. I create easy-to-understand animated videos about personal finance, investing, and financial freedom. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Goodbye, and I will see you in the next one.